Welcome back to Echoes of Middle-earth, where we delve into the deep histories and the complex strategies that defined the War of the Ring. One of the most visually stunning and debated moments in the defense of the West is the arrival of the Shadow Host, the Sleepless Dead of Dunharrow, who answered the call of the heir of Isildur. Strategically, the use of a ghost army that needed no weapon but fear seems like the ultimate weapon against the Black Land of Mordor. If Aragorn held the power to command a legion of spirits that could cause the mariners of the Black Fleet to cast themselves into the water in a madness of terror, why did he not march them straight to the Black Gate? Why did he release them at the haven of Pelargir rather than using them to physically dismantle the foundations of Barad-dûr? To understand why using the Dead Army in Mordor was never a viable option, we must look at the ancient oath that bound them, the spiritual mastery of the Dark Lord they were once aligned with, and the ultimate necessity of a victory won by the living. The story of the Dead Men of Dunharrow begins in the Dark Years, an era of growing shadow before the founding of the realms in exile. These men were kin to the Dunlendings, a hardy but secret folk who dwelt in the vales of the White Mountains. Long before a ship of the Dunedain came to the western shores, they had fallen under the spiritual dominion of Sauron, worshipping him as a god in the wilderness. When the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor were established, Isildur came to the hill of Erech and set there a black stone, an unearthly globe of stone brought from the ruin of Numenor. Upon this stone, the king of the mountains swore an oath of allegiance to Isildur, promising to fight against the Dark Lord if he should ever return. Yet, when Sauron arose again and the last alliance of elves and men was formed, these men failed the test. The memory of their former master was more potent than their newly sworn word. They hid in the secret places of the mountains and did not come to the war. In his wrath, Isildur laid a doom upon them. They would be the last of their line, and they would find no rest in death until their oath was fulfilled. For uncounted centuries, they haunted the paths of the dead, appearing as shadows of regret whenever the moon was thin. The terror of the Sleepless Dead lay upon the hill of Erech and all places where that people lingered, and the people of Harrowdale would shut their doors and shroud their windows in fear. Aragorn, as the 39th heir of Isildur in the direct line, was the only one who possessed the authority to call them from the gray twilight. He was led to this path by the foresight of Malbeth the Seer and the council of Elrond, who warned that the days were short and that the dead would awaken for the heir of him to whom the oath they swore. The first reason the Dead Army could not be used to destroy Mordor lies in the very nature of the legal and moral contract that summoned them. When Aragorn stood by the Black Stone at Erech in the dead of night, he issued a specific command. He did not summon them to a campaign of world conquest or a permanent military alliance. He told them clearly, "The hour is come at last. Now I go to Pelargir upon Anduin, and ye shall come after me. And when all this land is clean of the servants of Sauron, I will hold the oath fulfilled, and ye shall have peace and depart forever." Their mandate was to clear the southern lands of Gondor of the invaders, particularly the corsairs of Umbar and the Haradrim who had seized the river. The moment that task was completed at Pelargir, the moment the Black Fleet was captured or scattered, Aragorn was bound by his own word as a king to release them. To have attempted to drag a legion of ghosts into the heart of Mordor against the terms of their release would have been a betrayal of the integrity Aragorn sought to restore to the throne. He would have become a master of slaves, mirroring the methods of the Dark Lord himself. Furthermore, we must consider the specific effectiveness of the dead. They were not physical warriors of stone and steel. They were wraiths of fear. While they were an invincible gray tide against mortal men like the Haradrim and the orcs, they were essentially a psychological weapon. Legolas, for whom the ghosts of men held no terror, observed that the dead needed no longer any weapon but fear, for none could withstand them. However, Mordor was not a land that would easily be broken by fear alone. Sauron himself was a Maya of immense spiritual potency, a sorcerer and a master of phantoms whose dominion was based on torment. In his beginning, he was the greatest and most trusted servant of Morgoth, nourished in a malice so deep that he could dominate the very spirits of his slaves. If Aragorn had marched the dead into Mordor, he would have been returning a group of runaway slaves to a master who excelled at the domination of spirits. The dead had initially broken their oath because they had worshipped Sauron in the Dark Years. Sauron was the lord of the Ringwraiths, the 9 servants who were themselves shadows under his great shadow and lived in both the seen and unseen worlds. These Nazgûl wielded a deadly fear that could stop the hearts of even the bravest, and they were the apple of the great eye. The dead men of Dunharrow were essentially low-level spirits compared to the Nazgûl, who were fortified by the direct power of the Dark Lord. It is entirely possible that Sauron, through his own dark sorcery, could have turned the Shadow Host against the living remnant of the West. In a contest between the authority of the heir of Isildur and the original divine authority of the god the dead once worshipped, the outcome within the borders of Mordor would have been far from certain. Strategically, the use of the dead in Mordor would have also compromised the most essential element of the entire war: secrecy. The core strategy developed by Gandalf and Aragorn was built upon a fool's hope, the belief that they could guide a witless halfling into the very forges of Mordor while the Dark Lord's eye was turned elsewhere. To facilitate this, they had to convince Sauron that someone among the wise was attempting to wield the One Ring and challenge him through open warfare. Aragorn's march to the Black Gate with a force of only 7,000 men was a deliberate act of baiting. It was a last move in a great jeopardy designed to make Sauron believe that the new Ring Lord was acting with the overconfidence of one who has suddenly found a great weapon. A massive paranormal invasion of ghosts would have created a spiritual disturbance so significant that the eye of Sauron would have remained fixed and vigilant on the movements of that host. The success of Frodo and Sam's desperate crawl through the ash heaps of Gorgoroth depended on the fact that Sauron was searching for a rival whom he expected to find leading armies of men. A massive, visible army of ghosts would have been an anomaly the Dark Lord could not ignore. This distraction would likely have been replaced by a total spiritual alert across all of Mordor, significantly increasing the likelihood that the Ring-bearer would be captured. There is also the physical limitation of the dead's power. They were shades, not physical beings who could interact with the heavy masonry of the Dark Tower. While they could frighten an orc into fleeing, or a man into drowning, they could not physically throw down the walls at Barad-dûr or shatter the foundations of the fortress. Those works were built with the power of the ring itself, and while it remained, they would endure. The ultimate destruction of Sauron's power required the physical destruction of the One Ring in the fires of Orodruin. The dead were a tool for liberation and tactical support, but they were not capable of total annihilation of the enemy's primary strongholds. Finally, we must consider the spiritual health of Aragorn himself. Throughout his life, Aragorn struggled with the weight of his lineage and the shadow of Isildur's failure. To have kept the dead, a force belonging to the realm of shades, as a permanent military asset, would have been a step toward the very darkness the ring represented. As Galadriel and Gandalf both feared, the desire to use the enemy's tools for good is the first step toward becoming a new Dark Lord. By releasing the dead at Pelargir, Aragorn demonstrated the quality of his kingship. He valued honor and the fulfillment of a promise over the immediate utility of power. He proved that he was a healer and a restorer, not a man who would build a kingdom on a foundation of enslaved spirits. The victory of the West had to be a victory of the living, fought with courage and the hardihood to die free. The dead served their purpose in the nick of time, enabling the living men of the southern fiefs to reach Minas Tirith before it fell. Their part was ended because the New Age, the Age of Men, could not be founded on the lingering wreckage and curses of the old world. The true restoration of the kingdom required a king who could lead living men into the light, rather than one who relied on the shadows of the past to win his crown. In the end, the story of the Dead Army is a reminder that the means are as important as the ends. Had Aragorn used them in Mordor, he might have won a battle only to lose the world to a different kind of spiritual shadow. The true echoes of Middle-earth are found in those who, like the heir of Elendil, know when to let go of power so that peace may truly root take. Thank you for joining us for this exploration of the hidden strategies of the Third Age. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows of the White Mountains, make sure to like and subscribe as we continue to unearth the deep truths of Tolkien's world. Until the stars shine again on our meeting, walk in the light and let the dead find their rest.